Welcome to the Today's Leader podcast. Building tomorrow's best leaders, today.
Way to go, guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul, I see you. All right, finish. Let's go.
Great job, guys.
Hey there, it's Coach Curl here, and welcome to episode 409 of the Today's Leader podcast, Building Tomorrow's Best Leaders Today. Today I'm really pleased to be showcasing a young marketer from right here in Queensland on the Sunshine Coast. Now, Connor Marriot is the founder and the CEO of Instinct Education, helping small to medium-sized businesses create consistent and reliable growth month after month through digital marketing and online training. The ethos of Connor is to help business owners grow, and that's a really important distinction that he makes during the course of our interview. They work closely with business owners to help them develop the fundamental skills and to build the foundations that they need for long-term success in their business. It truly is a very enlightening conversation. Connor's helped over 500 clients on their business growth and personal growth journey. And some of the insights that you are going to hear are not just related to marketing, but firmly related to the growth of the business owner. So after a word from our sponsor, Think and Grow Business, it's my pleasure to welcome Connor Marriot to the Today's Leader podcast.
The podcast is brought to you by Think and Grow Business, the home of the Think and Grow Business Mastermind. If you're serious about growing your business, get serious and join a mastermind group today. Find out more at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au.
And it's my pleasure to welcome to the Today's Leader podcast, Building Tomorrow's Best Leaders Today, the founder and CEO of Instinct Education. Please welcome Connor Marriot. How are you, Connor?
Great, Tony. How are you?
It's always good to speak with another Queensland entrepreneur, a Queensland leader. I speak with leaders right around the world. And as I just said to you, I just got off the interview with another gentleman from Ohio. So I get really excited when I get to speak with Australians, especially one that's just an hour north of me. So, Connor, share your story with our audience.
Cool. So thanks for having me on. Basically what we do is we help business owners with their client acquisition. So how to get more clients, how to get more sales, how to grow, build out systems. The way that kind of started was I originally was a personal trainer, and I was a personal trainer for 3 or 4 years. And I always wanted to start a business, and I tried to start businesses whilst I was a personal trainer. But for whatever reason, I would start it, I'd get distracted, I'd move on, and I repeated this over and over. And I never really understood why I couldn't stick with it. So one day I read this quote, and it was by Charlie Munger, who's Warren Buffett's business partner. And it was, to get what you want, you must deserve what you want. And when I read that, I kind of realized that, I said I wanted to start these businesses and do these things, but my actions or behaviors weren't really deserving of that. I would spend most of my time working out or hanging out with friends. So when I read that, it really hit me, and I decided to move halfway across the country to start a business and go all in. And so as a personal trainer, I learned about digital marketing. I was using it to get clients, like email marketing and website design and all that sort of stuff. And so I decided to move across the country to start a digital marketing company helping small businesses with their marketing.
Excellent.
And that's basically how it got started. It took 3 months of working 16-hour days, 7 days a week to figure out how to actually get my first client. But then from there, we were able to grow quite quickly, and we kept getting more and more clients and bigger clients, which allowed us to learn more and more, because we had clients that would want to spend a lot of money on Google ads. And so we'd have to get pretty good at Google ads, and then they'd want to do it on Facebook ads and all these different platforms. And so we learned quite quick what worked and what didn't. And that went on for a couple of years until we started to realize that just using, just generating businesses leads wasn't always what they needed. We had a lot of clients who would generate them leads, but like the receptionist wouldn't call the leads, or they didn't have a sales process to convert those leads into clients. And so we started looking at, okay, like, what is this missing? And that's when we kind of got into the whole education side, where now we focus on teaching business owners not just how to get leads, but how to do like lead nurture, lead generation, conversion, sales, onboarding, the whole process. And by doing that, it kind of removes the variables in that, yeah, a lot of people think the problem is they need more leads, when in reality they probably need a better offer and better messaging and better sales and conversion mechanisms and all these other pieces.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we do now, is help business owners with that.
So I'd say, and in many ways, it's the process after the lead is generated that's really, really important. So it's one thing to get someone bringing a lead into your business. It's how do you convert that, and what is your process, and what is your steps. And I guess I do a little bit of work with small business in the small business world, and there's no tougher game than there's no more competitive game, I reckon, than personal training. And then just about every man and his dog believes that they can do a Facebook ads course and suddenly call themselves a digital marketer. So once again, two highly competitive fields. And it's interesting that it took you 3 months to work through your own processes to start bringing in consistent clients to you. So during that 3 months, what were some of the things that were the key learnings for you to take your business forward?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing, and I'm not, like, in hindsight, I don't really know where I got this. Maybe I learned it from personal training, but I always viewed like progress as the goal.
Yep.
And so it took me an entire month to book my first meeting with a prospect. And then by end of month 2, I was booking a meeting every day. And so even though I hadn't yet got a client, I could see I was improving. And so that kept me motivated and consistent. In terms of like the skills, I basically like committed myself to trying a new thing every single day. And my like mentality around it was, if the average business owner tries one new thing each month and I try one new thing every day, then within 2 weeks, I've got a year's worth of growth.
Yeah.
And so I would try, like, I remember the first day I started doing cold emails, and then I was doing things like door to door and cold calls and basically just anything you could think of. And that's how I started generating meetings. But then I realized I didn't know how to like convert that meeting into a sale. And then so I had to go and learn sales, and it was just like this process of sequentially building these skills. And yeah, I think that's like important to understand. A lot of people think like, if they're starting out, I just need one thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is one thing, but that one thing is kind of like the last piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Maybe you already have the prerequisite skills to make that one thing work, but in many cases, there's a sequence of things you need to understand. And so like, yeah, just learning sales isn't going to be useful if you don't know how to get appointments or meetings. And so, yeah, it was this process. It took, like 3 months to learn. And I think a big part of why I was able to stick with it, because like externally I was failing for 3 months straight after putting a lot of time in.
Yeah.
But I was able to see it as progress and improvement. And so that's how I kind of was able to keep moving forward.
And one of the things that I'm really interested in, Connor, is where did the name come from? Instinct Education. It's if someone was to look at that as a brand name or a business name, it's really divorced from what you normally see marketing agencies or lead generators call themselves. So what was the inspiration behind that Instinct Education piece?
Well, in hindsight, it's actually turned out to be like, it's tied in really well with what we teach, because a lot of what we teach now is not just the tactics, but the behavior and the trait side of things. Yeah. I wish I could say I planned it that way from the start. Originally, the business was just Marriot Media Marketing, yeah. So like my last name, and I kind of wanted to get away from that. So I just, I don't know exactly where it came from, but I'm glad we went with it, because in the end, like, yeah, it ties into what we do. Our primary focus is helping business owners grow, not helping businesses grow. And that was like a distinction we made, because like you can know what to do, but you can still not do it. And that's typically the case. So we do focus a lot on like helping business owners change their behaviors and habits and traits on top of the tactics. And so that kind of goes into like the whole business instinct thing.
Yeah, absolutely. What about your typical client? What do they look like?
So it depends. A lot of our clients come to us at the start, like they've got an idea or maybe they've tried some things and they haven't got many results. And so that's like a business owner, they want to sell something, like they're an expert, they have experience, and they're not really sure how to monetize that.
Yeah.
And then the other side, like I guess our second market would be the slightly more experienced business owners who are generating clients but lack the systems and the consistency.
Yeah. So do you see people at all just wanting the magic pill? Just say, give me the magic pill, kind of make my business grow. And if I happen to grow as part of that, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's basically everyone. And
So how do you
like-
shift them from that?
Well, this is something I spend a lot of time thinking about, and I try to do it logically. Like I try to paint a logical argument so that you understand that it is your behavior. And like a good analogy would be, let's say you wanted to run a marathon and you want to get the best strategy to run a marathon.
Yeah.
So you like go out, you hire a coach, they tell you what to eat, like the supplements to take, the best shoes to wear, and then you get the plan and you're like, yeah, I mean, this looks good, but I don't really want to run. Like you're probably not going to win the marathon. And so
Yeah.
instead of just get you like running each day, you're probably going to have a better chance. And yeah, basically just deconstructing, like to get success in anything, you need to be consistent with that thing.
Yeah.
And to be consistent, you need to have confidence that it's going to work.
Yeah.
But people think confidence comes from the thing you're doing. They think I need to know that this thing is going to work before I'm going to be confident. When in reality, it comes from confidence in yourself. Because if you have so much confidence and conviction in yourself where you can say, I'm going to make this work no matter what, then you can take any strategy and you can make it work. And so if we need confidence doesn't come from the thing. Confidence comes from yourself. And so you need confidence in yourself so that you can make the thing work.
Yeah.
It would be like, if you said, I'm only going to get in a relationship if I know it's going to work.
Yeah.
Like, well, that relationship won't work. Like, you're the one that can make it work.
Yeah.
And so, like, understanding that and then being like, if you don't have the work, like, no strategy works without the work ethic. And you can take a very bad strategy and make it work if you put in the work first. And so that's kind of like what we want to focus on. And then we want to layer on good strategies too, so that like when they do it, it does work. But yeah, without that initial requirement of like effort, there's no magic button you can click.
Yeah. It's very much the case that confidence comes from getting good at something, and you can't get good at something if you're not prepared to do something. So, and I'm a big fan of Craig Harper and the You Project and the podcast that he does, and he talks about that all the time. If you want to get good at public speaking, get out there and speak. It's the only way you are going to get good at it. It's practicing in your bedroom is going to take you part of the way, but you need to get out there and you need to do it. And I think you're right. So many people just want to have that guarantee that they'll, public speaking or running a marathon, that it's just going to happen for them. And that's not the case. We've got to be really shit at something to get really good at something, I think. And, this is a conversation. I do a music podcast on a Thursday with a couple of musicians, and one of them is adamant that every time he releases new music, he takes all his old music off. And he said, but that's not me anymore. So, and I keep telling him it's got to be about your journey, but your journey is your early part of the catalogue. And even if you can look back and say, geez, I wasn't much good, that's part of your journey. People can see that, oh, geez, that song was okay, it wasn't great, but I love his new stuff. Or you're going to have some people that say, I love your old stuff, but not your new stuff. So you just can't keep, to me, you just can't keep deleting your past because it wasn't something that you were good at. I know when I look back on this particular podcast, Connor, I look at some of those early episodes and just think, what was I thinking? How did I think anyone would listen to that? They're still available if people want to go out and have a look. I would encourage the audience not to. But it shows the journey of where we've come from with the podcast. And I think that's so important. And the podcast wouldn't be in the shape that it is today if it wasn't for those steps of continually doing it, the consistency of doing it, looking at others at what are they doing, trying to get the best possible equipment and the best possible platforms to get the best possible outcomes. So what you're saying is absolutely relevant and resonates with me so deeply, because people have to do stuff to get good at stuff.
Yeah, like you won't be good at anything the first time, and the only way to get good is by like trying it and getting better. And the way I like to think of it is like if you did, let's say you wrote one ad or you did one sales call and it didn't work out. Well, like of course it didn't, because you wrote like one ad or did one sales call. And so changing that to be like, if I did 1,000 sales calls, like would it be reasonable for me to be good? Yeah, probably. And so like that should be the goal. Like let's try to develop the skill, because again, strategy doesn't work without skill. Any strategy, there is an element of skill. I can give you, let's say take sales for example. I can give you a sales script.
Yeah.
But anyone can have a script. It's not the script. It's how you deliver it. It's like if you look at like actors in Hollywood, they can have 100 people audition for a role using the same script. They all read the same script, but only one person gets it, because how they deliver it is different. And so the only way to get good is by doing the thing over and over. And the way I like to look at that is, if your goal excites you, then you're probably not doing enough work to achieve it. And so what I mean by that is, like, let's say your goal is to get 20 clients.
Yeah.
And you like go and talk to 2 people. Well, if you got 20 clients from talking to 2 people, that would be unexpected and exciting, because something is only exciting if it's unexpected, right? And so on the other hand, if you went and spoke to 1,000 people and you got 20 clients, would you be excited? Probably not, because like, of course you got 20 clients because you spoke to 1,000 people. And so understanding, like, if you want this outcome, what can I do to make anything other than that outcome unreasonable? And when you do that, you'll actually get the outcome.
Yeah.
But you understand, like, you can't just do one thing and hope it's going to work, because it won't. And if it did, it would be exciting. But if it's exciting, it means it was unexpected. And if it was unexpected, it means you didn't do what was probably required to achieve it.
Nice way to think about it. I like some of your marketing messages. I'm just having a look on your Instinct Education site now, and for those who are committed to the irrational pursuit of better, talk me through where that message came from. The irrational pursuit of better.
Well, the way I think about business is, like, a lot of people look at the business as it's like a static thing. You make it once, you make a product or a service, and then you kind of just promote that forever through marketing, and that's how you keep growing. But if you look at like good businesses, they're constantly improving. Like if you take Amazon started as a e-commerce store selling books. Now they're not an e-commerce store selling books, but if they stayed just wanting to be an e-commerce store selling books, well, like we wouldn't know what Amazon is. And it only came from like developing these new things. Like they developed FBA, like Fulfilled by Amazon, where other people can sell on their platform. They created Amazon web servers where like other websites can host their websites on it. They improved their shipping, the delivery, the fulfillment, customer service, like every single part of that business, they've like optimized and they've made it better.
Yeah.
And I believe like the way to, like going back to that quote, to get what you want, you must deserve what you want. And so if you want a better outcome in your business or your life, look at what you're doing, and you can assume that the outcome you're getting is because of the actions you're taking. And so if you want a better outcome, you need to be doing something better.
Yeah.
You need to deserve it more.
Yeah.
And so it's the constant cycle of making things better and framing everything as like, if I've got a lack of success in one area, it's because I don't yet have the skill to deserve success in that area. And so when you frame it that way, you know that, okay, well, that's great, because all I need to do is get better, and then you can get better. rather than just like sitting back and being like, this is unfair. Like I wish I had more clients, but I'm not going to do anything about it. So yeah, the constant pursuit of betterment, like that should always be the goal.
Yeah.
And by doing that, you improve every other area of your life too. Like if you get better at one thing, you'll develop the character traits that will like transfer over to every other discipline of life as well. So yeah, that's kind of what we believe in.
So it's the concept of progress. Fundamentally, we want to continue to progress. And yes, you may have a goal that you want to generate 100 leads a month, but coming from a base of maybe generating 3 leads a month, and you're not going to hit that goal the first month you do it, but you might get to 5 by being consistent and doing some daily work. And then the next month you might get to 10, and so it's a consistent process to help people get better. The interesting thing around Amazon that I picked up is there would be now some people that don't even realize that they're a bookseller. You know, it might be a streaming platform that they associate Amazon with. It might be an e-commerce for tech stuff. It might be a music platform. I mean, Amazon Music's been in the news now because of the Spotify for all, with people pulling out of Spotify and people saying Amazon Music's great quality. So it's interesting that thing with Amazon just wanting to get better at what it is that they do, and now they may not even be known to some people as a bookseller.
Because they've continued to evolve and improve, and that's the thing. Like at the end of the day, the business that's the best will win.
Yeah.
And like that's in any kind of niche or like market.
Yeah.
And so like marketing can promote what you've already got, but if you're focusing on marketing, like you're not improving what you've got. And marketing can kind of like increase your popularity in the short term, but long term, whatever's best will win. So if you can focus on like improving and moving closer and closer to the perfect, in terms of like what you're doing and how you're doing it, then that you'll keep growing without having to like worry too much about marketing.
Yeah. So how do you use this with clients, Connor? What's your process?
So we basically, and this is something that like has taken a long time to figure out the best way to teach it, but we have created these cycles, and we look at business as a cycle. And so you basically we could break it up into like high level 2 parts: your delivery, which is like what you do, and then your acquisition, which is how you articulate what you do to get clients or sales. And so what we want to do is start with your delivery, like what is your offer, who's your market, what's your messaging, and try to improve that. And then we can go and use acquisition to promote it.
Yeah.
And the way we kind of look at it is, if your marketing is working at, let's say, 2 out of 10 or 20%, then it's not because your marketing is 20%, it's because your delivery is 20%. And so if we can improve the delivery, by default, your marketing will get better, because marketing is simply articulating what it is you do and who you help.
Yeah.
And so if you can improve what it is you do and who you help and how you help them, by default, your marketing and acquisition will get better. And so it's kind of like this cycle of improve what you've got and then promote it and kind of see where it will get you. Like marketing is not necessarily the way to increase the potential of a business. It's a way to identify the potential of a business. And so you'll see, like, based on how effective your marketing is going to tell you how effective your delivery is.
Yeah.
And so if it's at a point that you're happy, great. If not, you can go back and improve it and try again. And so it's this cycle of, it doesn't need to be perfect right away.
Yeah.
It can get some result, and whatever result that gets is telling you how good it is. And then you can make it a bit better, and you can repeat this process.
Yeah. And a lot of people believe it's in the marketing, so they'll put more money into the marketing, and then when the marketing doesn't work because the message isn't right, or the product offer isn't right, or the value proposition, whatever we want to call it, isn't right, they've wasted that marketing budget, and then they feel less likely that marketing's the solution to their problem.
They say marketing doesn't work.
Yeah.
But like a good like real world example would be Netflix and Blockbuster. So their outcome is basically the same, right? How to watch a movie. But the way in which you achieve that with Blockbuster, there's like effort. You need to go to the shop, you need to find it, you need to drive there, find a park, come back. With Netflix, it's like you click a button. And so they're both optimizing for the same outcome, but one's doing it a lot better.
Yeah.
And so no amount of marketing would convince you otherwise.
Yeah.
And so Netflix could have like objectively worse marketing than Blockbuster, but because it's achieving the outcome in a better way, it's a better business.
Yeah.
And so, it's just like looking at what is our promise? Like what are we trying to do? What are we saying we're trying to do?
Yeah.
And then how close to perfect can we get to that? And when that happens, again, your marketing will get better.
Yeah. So it's about getting the product good, or the product ready for market, and then being able to share that. And it's interesting, the Blockbuster and Netflix association, because of the fact that we're not too far away when people will sit back and be told stories from their grandparents of how they used to go into a store on a Friday night and look for a movie to watch, and there were always arguments about, no, we've seen that one, and you know, it's almost like a foreign world that was all part of, and we used to do it willingly. My God, all those things. Connor, who's inspired you in your journey?
I think like there's obvious people like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, but I think the people that have inspired me the most are the people that I've met that have just been like started in the same position as me and have like done really well.
Yeah.
Like I've got a friend back from Adelaide, my hometown, who when I was younger, like he was really into online advertising, and that's kind of how I started looking into it. But I just was so blown away at the time of like, how is he like, he told me he would work like 6 days a week for like 8 hours a day. And at the time I just remember thinking like, that's insane. Like, how can you do that? And so that always inspired me, and meeting other people who are, started in similar situations and didn't have like the experience or anything like that, but have just through like work ethic built something. And that's always inspiring because it's like anyone can do it. And like, I believe that. Like, I don't think have any skills or talents naturally at all. In fact, I was like below average in school. I wasn't very good. I don't think I'm naturally gifted at anything. But like, I've been able to build some things because I've stuck with it. And so, just seeing people like that is always inspiring because like anyone can do it. Like, it's not easy, but you can do it. And that's what inspires me.
Yeah, there's a real mindset around entrepreneurship and building and growing a business. And what we've also seen at this particular stage in our evolution is a lot of people moving away from the corporate space, and we're seeing a lot more over 50s that are suddenly realizing or thinking that they want to start a business. And that's great. And being able to take their skill set and deliver some services to people. But usually that corporate career doesn't necessarily give you the mindset to go out and face up to what it takes to grow a business from basically nothing, with nothing behind you in many cases. And I think it's an incredibly challenging place that a lot of people find themselves, because having a business sounds exciting and sounds sexy, but as you said, there's so much work involved, and it is about setting the right goals and having the right progression towards what it is that we're heading for. So Connor, what about failure? So we've all felt failure, we've all felt the pain and the sting of failure, and we don't set out to fail. But how would you describe your relationship with failure?
I actually, you say we don't go out to set and fail, and like on the macro, we definitely should not try to fail. But I like failing because that's the only way to learn.
Yeah.
If you like, people want to, again, they want something that's going to work right away. But when you try something that doesn't work, you learn much more than if it did work.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who have like achieved success without failure, and like more or less got lucky.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of weeks or a couple of months, like something goes wrong and they don't know how to handle it. And then like it all comes crumbling down. And so I'd much rather build a foundation on rock rather than sand. And that's done by like, if there's something that's working for us, I know why it's working because I tried 200 other things that didn't work. And so I identified like why this would work. And that gives you a lot of certainty in yourself and confidence, because it's like, if this stops working, I understand why it is working, therefore I can solve it.
Yeah.
And so I think you should like look at failure, look at resistance as a sign of growth, because like without it, you won't grow. Like you might grow externally, but you won't grow internally. And if you grow externally without growing internally, then anytime something happens, like if you build a house on sand, it's just going to crumble. And so you want to embrace resistance. That's how you learn. That's how you get better. And if you grow internally, then you can lose things externally, but you'll be able to get it back.
Yeah.
And that's like, probably the most important skill or trait to understand is like, I'd rather have a day where I like develop myself and externally nothing happens than a day where externally a lot of things happen, but I haven't grown myself. Because long term, if you add those things up over weeks or months or decades, like the person that's improving themselves will get the external thing. The person that's only focused on the external thing, they're not growing themselves. And if they don't, then they could very easily lose it.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. It's that whole preparing yourself and training and developing yourself and preparing yourself, so when the proverbial does hit the fan, so to speak, you've got the skills and the capabilities and the resilience to be able to deal with it. So Is there a book that's had the biggest impact on you as you've been developing?
I've read a lot of books. The first book I ever read, which I would say probably had the biggest impact just because it got me into reading, was The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Yeah.
It's basically teaching you focus, and it's delivered in, like, if you're not a reader, that's always the book I suggest because it's an easy read, but it teaches you like focus and like the foundations of achieving things. And then from there, like, that's every person I've recommended to read that book has then read it, and then they become like a consistent reader.
Yeah.
So that was probably the one that kickstarted my reading.
Yeah.
And so that one's, probably the one that had the biggest impact.
Yeah, The One Thing by Gary Keller. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people are impacted by that book. And I think you're right. It is 100%. If we can, understanding what's important in our lives is important for everyone, leaders and, everyone in our lives. So if we know what's important, it's so much easier for us to be able to focus on it. So what's the vision for you moving forward, Connor?
So we're going to keep improving what we do.
Yeah.
We're focusing more and more on like behavioral reprogramming, again, like going back to growing the individual, not the business.
Yeah.
Because the more we see, the more people we work with, that's typically what we need to change. And then the other side of that is making business as simple as possible. And so that's the other place I spend most of my time thinking about, is taking these concepts, which most people are very good at overcomplicating, and just like distilling them down into something that's so simple that you can understand it instantly. And so like our program in the past, like every time we redo it, we make it shorter.
Yeah.
And that's because we're able to distill things down into simpler and easily digestible chunks.
Yeah.
And the goal would be to have something that's like so simple that you can understand it in like 10 minutes, and then develop the character traits and disciplines to actually execute it.
Excellent.
So that's kind of where we're heading.
Excellent. So how can people connect with you? If no doubt there's people listening today that are intrigued by what it is that you do and maybe wanting to connect with you and how you can help them and or their business. So how can people connect with you?
The best place is probably Instagram. That's where I'm most active. So my Instagram is Connor_Marriott. So CONNOR_MARRIOTT.
Excellent. No worries. And of course, I'll have the links to Instinct Education in the show notes as well as the link to your Instagram. Connor, it's been a pleasure having you today on the Today's Leader podcast. Thank you for investing in the leaders of today.
Thanks so much, Tony.
And now, it's time for Tony's 2 cents.
I love having conversations with amazing leaders, and Connor is a young entrepreneur on the rise. Now, along the journey, Connor spoke about deserving what you want. You have to deserve what you want. And along the way, shared tips, not just from a marketing perspective, but from a success journey perspective. He shared tips about progress and the fact that his mission is about helping business owners grow, and not just on the magic pill remedy of helping people's businesses grow. Really highlighted the extent of the character that Connor has. He wants to help people be better at what it is that they do, because he realizes that that is the foundation for their future success. We all know that the world is filled with people who know what they should be doing, but unfortunately we also know that most don't do it. So it's really important that we focus in on business owners, business leaders, to make sure that they are doing everything that they possibly can to grow, because when they do that, funnily enough, their businesses will grow. So we know that for any business growth, everything must start with the leader, the person that's leading the business, the person that owns the business, the person that's managing the business. Now, when the leader is open to growth and they're open to being stretched and challenged, it's amazing how effective their business growth strategy suddenly becomes. And as Connor pointed out during our conversation, the need for business owners and business leaders to develop skills, the skill that they need to grow, because that is how we get good at something. That is how we get competent at something. And as we know, when we're good at something and we're competent at something, that breeds confidence. So continued practice will also help us define and accelerate our purpose. So there were some really key messages that Connor spoke to during the course of our interview. I really love some of you saying the irrational pursuit of better. I really love that, because some people do see that as an irrational sense of being better. Why are you always concerned with growing and strength and progress? Why are you always so focused on being better than what you were yesterday? And that is ultimately why some people succeed and many people don't. Connor's got a really unique way of looking at business, and I really do appreciate his investment in coming on the podcast and his ongoing investment in today's leaders. And as per always, his links are in the show notes. If you're looking to build better leadership skills, check out the Today's Leader website at todaysleader.com.au. We really are driving a leadership revolution to build tomorrow's best leaders today. Today's Leader is a collective, the mindset to make a difference, the ability to create an impact. Think and Grow Business hosts our Today's Leader Masterminds. Think and Grow Business, where we focus on personal, professional, and business growth. Book your free 30-minute discovery call right from the homepage at thinkandgrowbusiness.com.au. Don't forget, wherever you are standing stronger, braver, and wiser. Don't forget the golden rule. Don't be an arsehole. I'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.